We've got a sneaky Lucario with 8 points. That's just such a perfect amount. They're going to try to score right here. This is probably going to... If they don't score, they are going home. Gaimin Gladiators has to put a point...
Alone. Here's the score sheet, baby. Where's the cooldown of it? Can you get it off? Gets pushed away.
And GG needs to score in this moment. They have to get a point in the goal. But I don't think it's possible. Doob Stacks full send takes this game.
Are you kidding me? Off of Volby with 8 points plus 16. 16 minus 7 is 9. That's a 9-point victory by full send. Are you kidding me? Gaimin Gladiators. Gaimin Gladiators are going home.
And that's it. I poured my heart and soul into the game of Pokemon Unite. And while I'm not going anywhere anytime soon, today, let's go on the journey of how I lost my chance to be at Pokemon Worlds. Before we get to the final day, it's important I take us back to the beginning. On January of 2022, every competitive player's dream would come true with the announcement of the official Pokemon Unite Championship Series, a $1 million circuit sponsored by the Pokemon Company, leading up to playing on the big stage alongside the TCG and VGC games. Players from around the globe would come together to prove who is truly the best in the world. Every month, regional tournaments would be held, awarding teams with championship points. The 12 teams with the most points automatically qualify for the regional finals, and the top 2 from the regional finals get to play in the World Championships. Now, you'd expect, like other Pokemon games, that the #1 team in the region with the most championship points would be given an automatic invite to Worlds to encourage consistency and to reward teams that performed well throughout the circuit. Unfortunately, that's not how it worked. The only advantage given to the teams with higher points was a favorable seed and how they were sorted in the group stages of the regional finals. While this was a concern for me and my team in January, we knew for the time being we needed to keep our heads down and play the best we could month after month. Because of our success, we were approached by the Gaimin Gladiators, an up-and-coming esports organization at the time, to represent them throughout the season. Understanding that we had 6 months to prepare for one single day, we got to work. This leads us to the final tournament before the regional finals. We had games come down to the buzzer, games that required extreme comebacks. We also dropped a lot of games. We had to adapt to IX's Absol pick with our own counter picks, and it worked out very well for us. Despite winning, there was an overarching feeling that we really needed to consider our plans in the future. At the end of all these qualifying tournaments or regionals, my team, the Gaimin Gladiators, held the #1 spot in North America. But considering how competitive the game got, we spent the next several weeks pouring everything we had into the game to prepare for the big day. And the big day is finally here. The last 6 months was spent playing the game, dominating the grassroots scene, engaging with the community, and making content. I had not taken a single day off from streaming Pokemon Unite leading to our bootcamp, and I had played a single game of Pokemon Unite every single day for the last 9 months from the day that I had quit my job. Everything was on the line. Gaimin Gladiators, our fans, the Unite community, you guys watching, everyone had their eyes on us. 4 groups of 6 teams were sorted based on their championship points. The top 2 teams from each group would enter an 8-team double elimination bracket. The top 2 from that bracket would advance and get to play in the World Championships. At this point, the last 6 months meant nothing, as every game we played from this point onward would decide our fate. And we were off to the races. Our group stage matches were what fans would expect. 2-0 every match, and we advanced comfortably 10-0 through the groups. We decided to just play completely standard and not showcase any of the strategies we had planned in case the other teams were watching. From here, we advanced to our first bracket stage match versus Team TOS. We were pretty confident going into Team TOS. We had played them in the past, and we felt like we had a good read on how we wanted to win. Despite that, we did not want to hold anything back. So this match featured one of our key strategies we'd been holding on to for this event. Now, since the popularization of Hyperspace Hole in the meta, North America had developed this meta where Hoopa teleports themselves top for the first Bs, or they walk through mid if they haven't hit level 4, and they assist in this Lucario, Hoopa, and Jungler 3v3 fight. Hoopa's Astonish has great crowd control to stop the Lucarios from last hitting, and Blissey, on the other hand, is tanky enough to hold the bottom goal with minimal help. We decided to take this one step further and focus really hard on ensuring my level 4. This way I could teleport top. However, we'd bring our Lucario down and away from the enemy Hoopa we anticipated would go top. And our Lucario would be able to secure all the farm in the bottom lane, the Bs, and potentially even knock out the Blissey. The goal is to get a massive XP lead for first Dreadnought, win the fight and the Dreadnought, snowball an XP lead, maximize as many knockouts as possible, and then take down Zap, or at least take everyone down at Zap. TOS does their best to claw back into the game, and we actually end up losing Zap. But thanks to our massive lead and some scores in the late game, we're presented with the notification, you have a huge lead. And despite losing Zap, we let out a sigh of relief as we just need to defend. Game 1 goes our way, and we run the same strategy the next game. Bring Lutano down, dominate the farm. This time, TOS does a much better job staying in the game, and they actually win the first Dreadnought. We stay in the game, we come back, we have a great fight at the next Dreadnought, we have a good lead getting to Zap, and this time we do a much better job at preventing a flip from happening, get some key knockouts, we secure Zap, we secure the win. That would leave 2 more rounds to play for day 1, and then an additional series on the next day to qualify. So we gear up, and we're against IX Gaming in round 2. The team we had defeated in the May finals, also defeated them in the first Start.gg tournament a week before this event. This was one of the teams we knew we'd have to take down to make it through. Their signature pick was Absol, piloted by Itsnudo, and our preparation was to either play Trevenant on Lutano, providing us with a tanky character with lots of crowd control, or Pikachu on Goof to provide us with a strong early game, and again, stuns to control the Absol. Game 1, we opt for the Pikachu, and we repurpose our strategy to bring Lutano down from the top lane. While it wasn't as successful as our TOS games, it did generate an early game advantage. Unfortunately, it wasn't large enough as we do lose the first shred, and that's all IX needed to snowball the Absol. The Lucario, the Dragonite, the Absol were able to completely take the game over, and due to a massive XP lead from the enemy team by the time Zap spawned, the fights were unmanageable. Game 2 starts off even worse. We elect to go with the tree as it's been proven to be successful, but our early game is blown, with Absol snowballing and our team being choked out of XP. Simply, we lost the early game in both lanes, with knockouts going the way of their cores. Our carries are under-leveled at the objectives, and that's all Absol needs to completely take over the game. In hindsight, we should have played to shut down the Absol harder. I think personally, I should have adjusted my strategy, and instead of always going top in the early game, I should have followed around the Absol when I had the advantage and the strength over them. Lucario has the tools to come back in the game and has some utility when they're behind or on an even footing. However, Absol excels when they're ahead, and if I had made it a priority to keep them small, the game could have been very different. What worked for us in previous sets didn't work today. They learned from their mistakes, played much cleaner, and we weren't able to capitalize as we did in the past. GG to them. Regardless of the loss, we were by no means demotivated. A lower bracket run was fine. We just needed to win a handful of sets and stamp our ticket to London. In potentially our last set of the season, we're paired up against Full Send, a team filled with what I'd consider now friends. We were extremely used to playing versus them. We've seen them in the finals of official tournaments, so we knew exactly what to expect. Sylveon was going to start the jungle, and if given the grass side of the map, they would take the blue buff, go to the top lane, while their Dragon Knight, who started bottom, would retreat into the jungle and secure the bottom buff, the red buff. With that XP split, they'd mitigate Sylveon's big weakness of starting off as an Eevee with no last hitting, while also not taking away farm from from their main carry, the Dragon Knight. They did a similar thing in the Eos Cup when we lost to them. And after the event, I remember thinking, why didn't we just invade the EV? The weakness is level 1 through 3, so let's abuse it. We tried it once versus them as a proof of concept, and Lutano was able to make it across in time with the help of a float stone. Unfortunately, we lose first shred to the Hyper Voice, but the reason we pick Cinderace becomes apparent here. Our goal wasn't to try and contest them on the flips. We knew if we played into their strategy to match the flips, we'd boil the game down to too many random factors. Instead, we wanted Pokemon that excelled at chase down knockouts, and Cinderace was the perfect answer. Game progresses as normal, we flip the Zapdos as expected, and this time we're ready. We have a 200-point lead set up, and our goal is to get as many takedowns as possible. We end up defending some scores with our Cinderace, while Zugrak counter scores. And this is where the close battle curse starts. Our team has been pretty good at estimating the score in the game. And remember, as a player, the only information you're given is if the game is close, a normal lead, or a huge lead. Close battle means the game is within 20 and you don't know if you're ahead or behind. We elect to try and push to make sure we don't lose the game, and unfortunately, we weren't able to score. Thankfully, we keep Pokemon who excel at stopping small turn-ins on each pad, we're able to defend. With no idea if we're ahead or not, the score tallies up and we win by 4. At this moment, I recall being ready to cry, but we had another game ahead of us. For reference, we're probably about 8 to 9 hours into the day of playing Pokemon Unite, and literally everything is on the line in this series. We pump ourselves up, load into game number 2. Elect to not go for the jungle invade this time in case they're expecting it, and the game is pretty much even going into Zapdos. This is bad news for us, as if we don't have a lead, we're basically playing to see which team can outsecure Zap, and their team has the favored tools with Hyper Beam, Power Up Punch, and Hyper Voice. Of course, they end up getting it, and because we're not large enough, we can't chase down any knockouts, and we end up losing this one. Despite losing, my mental is locked in. I'm feeling warm, I'm feeling good, I know what to expect, and we get ready for game 3. Nothing fancy, we just swap out Cinderace for Charizard, and despite losing the first Dreadnought of the game, we win the fight, elect to take down their bottom point, we go top, elect to take down their top point. This isn't normal, it's not conventional, but we wanted to develop as large of a point lead as we could into Zap. This way, if we lost it, which we knew they tried for, the game would be manageable to win, and we'd have an outcome similar to game 1. The game goes on, but you and I both know how this game ends. So let me show you the moments that replayed in my head over and over again, moments after I saw the score and on my trip home. At 3:38, I teleport top after our team loses a Rotom. My thought process is if this Rotom goes in and the game is close, we're doomed. I know I'm giving up points in the bot lane by doing this, but I imagine the points can't be too large and would be inconsequential if we lose Zap anyway. I prioritize defending Rotom over the bottom point. Their Blissey scores 33, and considering we lose by much less, I was wrong, and the game would have been very different. At 157, we're playing very aggressive, and know our goal is to not let their Hoopa in the pit to summon their team with their Unite move for a flip. Goof does a good job zoning, but doesn't force the fight and allows Hoopa to jump head over. We force the fight in that moment by pressing our Unites. The game is very different. We lose Zap, but our spirits haven't been lost yet. I call for snow points, the Hoopa in the mid lane. I know stopping his cap is extremely important, but unfortunately Lutano calls for their Lucario who's in the bot lane. Goof is closer to Lutano, so he follows his call, but because we have our tier 1 up in the bottom lane, and their Lucario has a bonus movement speed from his Unite, we're unable to stop his cap. If Lutano identifies the Hoopa as a target with me, or goes to cap his own while Goof defends, and stops their Lucario from going back, the game is very different. In this same moment, Zugrak decides to go for a cap of his own with 39, but he doesn't pick up any extra energy. He's more diligent about getting Eos energy and goes with 50. The game is very different. And after dumping his energy, he picks up 23, but we only need him to have about 10 to mitigate the close battle. The amount he has is too much, and he's unable to get a late game score. Again, the game would have been very different. At the same time, in the late game, Olby goes to the bottom lane and scores 8 points versus Toon on the Charizard. Toon doesn't get the Fire Blast off on the point, which combined with his autos and his Unite move would have been enough to stop the 8. And because we happened to be ahead in the close battle, you know that the game would be very different. Olby gets his 16 points, and we know the battle is close. That means there's a chance that we won by 4, by 3, by 2, by 1, or even by 0 since we scored first. The points start to tally up, and I tell my team, I don't know what's about to happen, but thanks for the season, guys. It's been real. And unfortunately, that was it. For those of you following my journey from day one, I want to thank you. And I'm sorry for letting you all down. Just know what I was able to accomplish this year would not have been possible without you. My team had its ups and downs like any other, but we stuck through it for the entire season. And despite coming up short in the end, I'm still very proud of what we were able to accomplish. Wish the format was better. Wish the meta was better. I wish I played better. But I can't dwell on the past any longer. What's next is I gear up for the next season because the job's not done. Thank you all for watching.